Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the Entremd Business School is open for enrollment. The Entremd Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the Entremd podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the Entremd Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. Entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the Entremd podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Entremd podcast. And today, I know I always say I have a treat, but it's true. But today I have a treat of treats. I have the amazing Dr. Sarah Stombaugh here. And she is a board certified in family medicine, board certified in obesity medicine. She's a podcaster. She's a rock star doctor in the Entremd Business School. So we're going to have a very fun conversation, which is going to be so inspiring because this is us getting to look at the true behind the scenes of the life of an entrepreneur and how entrepreneurship can radically change your life. So this is going to be so good. Dr. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Una. I am really excited to be here today.
I'm excited you're here. So I know I talked a little bit about what you do and things like that, but I want to give you a moment to introduce yourself to the listener. They get to see why I am so excited that you're here on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I have some details that you don't even know, so I'm excited to share them. So I am a family medicine physician by training, and I now have a private practice weight loss clinic in Charlottesville, Virginia. I also see patients by telemedicine. So I see patients in Illinois and Virginia for medical weight loss. And here's the fun part, which is that I actually launched my business in December of 2021. And the same week, I know she's what? That's not what I thought. The same week that I found out I was launching my practice, I found out I was pregnant with our third child. And so I had another gig at that time. I was doing some telemedicine work with my former practice. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to not really do this thing. We had recently moved cross country. That was my decision to open this practice. And I was bringing a handful of patients with me from my former practice. And so for all of 2022, when I tell you I had 5 patients in my practice, I had 5 patients in my practice. And when I tell you I did nothing, I did nothing. I didn't tell a single person that I was doing this. I was sort of secretly practicing obesity medicine, had this side gig, knowing I was due in September of 22, wanting to take some time afterwards. And I was like, you know what? I'll just really deal with this in the future. And so while that was the plan, I also sort of secretly hoped that despite the fact that I didn't tell anyone what I was doing, I'm an obesity medicine physician. 72% of the population struggles with overweight and obesity. People are just going to be flooding into my doors. They're magically going to know I'm here. And they didn't. And that was fine for a lot of reasons. That was truly my plan, but I had this secret hope that otherwise. So then I had my baby. It went well. I took some time off and I did formally relaunch in January of this year. So I usually tell people I started my practice in January, but the truth is that it did start previously and I was making very, very, very little money and seeing very few patients. So in January of this year, I launched my practice and I've been doing some of the things. I am a very determined type person. I decided I'm going to start this practice. I have no idea how to do that. To be clear, I'm an MD, but I have no business training. There's no entrepreneurs in my family. I was like, I'm going to do this. I don't know. So I read a book about starting a direct primary care practice, which is somewhat adjacent to what I'm doing. And I just made a checklist and I did all of those things. And then when it came to marketing, I wasn't doing a whole lot of it. And so I was seeing some growth in my practice. So for the beginning half of the year, seeing some growth. And then there was a point at which my husband and I kind of looked at each other and he's, so are you going to bring in a paycheck at any point in time? Or do you think you'll ever go back to employed family medicine? I had been doing outpatient family medicine before. And I was like, no, absolutely no way. He was like, okay, then what are you going to do? And that's when I discovered you, Dr. Una. And I really discovered you about a week before I joined the Entremd Business School. I listened to 10 or 15 podcast episodes. I was like, this is the place that I need to be. And I could not apply quickly enough. I started, I think June 30th was my official first day. So, really, just right at the beginning of Q3 of this year. And it has been so, so fun to be a part of this community and see my business finally experiencing the growth that I knew was possible, but I just didn't quite know how.
Okay. I'm not sure where to start with this. This is so good. All right. So you said a lot of things and we can pull out a number of master classes from this. So I want to pull some of these things out. You talked about secretly practicing, right? You
Mm-hmm.
started the practice. It was a secret, not really talking about it. But then you also secretly hoped that it would magically grow. And
Yes.
I think you put it in such a great way because the truth of the matter is many entrepreneurs start off that way. Like
Mm-hmm.
we think because we're good at what we do that people should just come. You even did the math. I mean, like 72% of people need what I do and I'm good at what I do. So I don't understand what the problem is here, right?
Easy. Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you guys? But you brought out a really important point. Like that doesn't matter. You still have to do what you have to do. Like you still have to go out and tell people about what you do and stop being a secret. So I thought that was so powerful. And this turning point that you had, it's a gift, right? Where you sat and you and your husband sat and you guys looked at each other. You're like, okay, so what are you going to do? Are you going to go back to being employed? And you're like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I guess the freedom piece of it was like, I'm not giving that up. Right. And then you made the decision, I'm going to join the school. It sounds like you made it pretty quickly because it's like a week.
I did.
Did you listen to 115 podcast episodes in a week?
Oh, 15.
Oh, 15. I was like, okay,
yeah.
Got it.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. And even at that, right? And then you're like, okay, decision made. This is what I need to do. So I have enjoyed watching your journey because you are a massive, massive action taker, like massive, right? And so you came in and you started making what people consider difficult changes, right? Like I know you changed your pricing structure. I know that you started networking like a whole boss. I know you're an evangelist for your cause. So I want you to talk about some of these changes that you made.
Yeah. So I think a big part of it was so all of 2022, that period of time where nothing was happening in all of the ways, nothing was happening. I had all of that experience to say, I know what happens when I don't do anything. And even the first half of 2023, when I had been more formally putting in an effort, I was doing things. I didn't really have a framework by which I was doing it. I had these snacks that I labeled with a QR code to my website, and I dropped them off at all the practices around town, and I would send letters. But I don't know, 15th of what I'm doing right now, just really a fraction. And there wasn't any sort of structure to it. It was just like, oh, I should do this. And I saw some result from that, but I knew that if I wanted to move forward, it needed to be intentional. It needed to have some framework and needed to have other input of what does it actually take marketing wise to grow a business. And so I sort of implied this, but previously I was practicing outpatient family medicine in the Chicagoland area. All of my professional reputation was there. We moved to Charlottesville, Virginia for my husband's job at the University of Virginia. And when I say we know no or knew no one here, we knew no one. I had no reputation. My name meant nothing. And so being able to get out into the community and introduce myself, like I had to do that. There was no world in which I could just continue secretly practicing medicine and hope for my practice to grow. It wouldn't work. And so the extroverting, putting myself out there, no one's going to believe me when I say this. I swear to you, I'm an introvert. I am so introverted. I hated past tense, hated networking, talking about myself, talking about what I did. And so the shift in framework to be able to talk about not so much me, but what I did, how I served people, that is really easy for me to say because I have these examples of how I have helped my patients, talking about service. I'm so excited when I talk about what I do. And when I can share that just from this genuine place of, I want to help you, or who do you know that I can help? That really makes it a lot easier for me to stand up and do that. And so, really, from the get go, it was clear to me that that's where I needed to focus my energies. And I just dove in. And I didn't even know what a chamber of commerce was. Someone posted in the Entremd Business School that they had joined the Chamber of Commerce. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but that sounds like a thing I should be doing. And someone said Rotary Club. And so I'm like literally Googling these things, joining the Chamber of Commerce. I emailed all the Rotary clubs. And then I just started making offers. Hey, do you need a speaker at your events? What networking events do you have coming up? And then I'd meet people at those events. I'm going out to coffee with them and probably at least three, but usually 5, 6 times per week, I am meeting with someone, usually in person, sometimes by Zoom. I'm showing up at their medical practice, we're getting coffee and just talking about me, talking about them, talking about the community, not even necessarily there saying, oh, come work with me, but just putting my name out there. And it's been so fun to see the patients that are now coming into my practice were referred to me by their massage therapist or their real estate agent or people that my real estate agent is not my ideal client, but her best friend is. And now I work with her best friend. And so being able to just see how it grows has been so fun. And there's that 20%, and I'm sort of addicted to it. I've left, I'm like, I need to go do some of the 80% stuff because I still do need to pay some bills and do all these other things. But I've really been excited about the 20% and I'm seeing how that's paying off in consults and everything.
That's amazing. She says I'm addicted to the 20%.
I'm
In the Entremd
addicted.
Business School, we call it eating frogs, right? Like doing those things that are really high value. They move the needle. Chances are they're things you procrastinate on anyway, but we've reversed it where we live there, right? Like we live in the 20%. So you talked about something, again, I knew this would be masterclass after masterclass. You talked about already doing the things. And this is important for the person listening. You may go, yeah, but I already do some networking. I already do some speaking. I already tell people about what I do. But you said I needed the structure. I needed a framework, right? So I have the complete stew, if you will. And you talked about upping the volume, like you think you're probably doing 15 times whatever you used to do because the volume is required, right? So sometimes people
Yes.
say it shouldn't take all that. But it does take all that, especially either when you're in the beginning or you're trying to create a quantum leap. A lot of times it takes what it takes, right? And if you're listening to this, right? She talked about her real estate agent. When I've looked at your posts in the business school, you've talked to everybody. Like you go for events, you talk to everybody. You're going down the street, you talk to everybody. I think you were even at a doctor's appointment recently or something. And you're like, hey, and by the way, this is what I do. And apparently that's opened doors for you. So as an introvert, I want you to talk to the introvert listening, right? You've come to this place. What I perceive from the post that you make in this school is that you come to this place where telling people about what you do has become part of what you do. Like it's almost like you're not necessarily planning to do it. It's like you do it. You've done it so much that this is what you do, right? So the introvert probably, I'm never going to be like that, right? What would you tell that person?
Yeah. So I think, I think I mentioned this, focusing on the mission rather than me has probably been the biggest aspect of it, because I'm able to talk about what I do, which is very different than talking about myself. I still, as a person, do not really love being the center of attention, but I think the message that I have to share is so important. And that service of how I know that I can help people, I feel like I'm doing a disservice if I don't tell people that I have this available to offer. And so it maybe seems like a minor shift, but for me, it was a major shift. It's not about me, it's about my service. And that has made it a lot easier. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I was going to one of the networking events I go to monthly now. The first one I went to, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. The whole drive there. And then I'm like, it's going to be fun. It's going to be so fun. You're going to meet so many amazing people. I get to learn about how many amazing people there are. And it's interesting when we look at conversation skills, people perceive that they had an amazing conversation with you when they got to talk about themselves. And so even if I don't really want to talk about my practice at all, sometimes I don't. I just ask them about their service and how can I support you and your business? And as long as you have 3 questions, tell me about yourself. How can I support you? Who's your ideal client? People eat that up and they just talk about themselves. And then they're like, oh, she was amazing. Oh, by the way, what do you do? And then they're sending me people, even though I've barely even told them what I've done. So focusing actually on other people too has been a really excellent way to help bring that out.
Love it. Focus on the mission and then focus on other people, which takes a lot of pressure off of you, right? I can do that, right? And I will tell you, so in the Entremd world, we'd say everybody's tuned into one radio station, right? WIIFM, what's in it for me? Everybody's there. So if you can go there, you can connect because they're already there, right? So once you can come there, you can connect. And I will tell you, when I look back on my journey, some of the greatest doors greatest opportunities that have come for me have come because of that. Because I've been interested in people and what they do and how I can support them. And I go out and I support them. And I'm not necessarily doing it to get something from them. I'm just like, let me support you. Right. And I've had ridiculous doors open. Some of them I'll be talking about in the near future, but it's so wild just by focusing on that. So that's like beautiful. That's what I do as well. And I'm an introvert as well. So introverts rising.
Yeah.
That is so good. Now someone might be listening. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, even my dermatologist. So I went to my dermatologist last week. I posted this in EBS. The reason it came up that I was doing what I was doing was because they own a medical spa. And I was actually asking them about their medical spa, and they do cool sculpting, which can help to destroy fat cells. And I don't actually know a whole lot about that, but I have a lot of patients who are interested in that type of service. So they invited me like, oh, we'd love to partner with you. And that's how it ended. But the way the conversation even started there was me saying, what is this that you do? I'd have patients who are interested in that. How can I support you? And I haven't seen how that will play out, but I know it's going to play out in a really meaningful way. But it started because I asked, how can I support you? And what is this service about? So I just wanted to share even that example.
Love it. I told you guys she's a rock star. Okay. Now somebody's like, well, okay, so You're doing all the networking, you're putting in the volume, you have the framework. We didn't even get to talk about your prices. I want to get back to that because that's a sticky point for a lot of people. You raise your prices, you did all of that. How has that mattered for your business? What change has it created?
Mm-hmm. The prices or
Oh, in general, like the networking you're doing, the pricing, all
oh
these
yeah.
activities you've been doing, how has that created change in your business? Whether that's the number of patients you're seeing, the type of patients you're seeing, the revenue, all of that. Is it moving the
Mm-hmm.
needle at all?
Yeah, I feel it's the momentum that I feel from all of it. So the I feel more excited. I bring that energy to the conversations I have at networking. I bring that energy to I do a free meet and greet visit before I work with my patients. When patients are getting to know me, I feel very practiced in what my mission is. I've been able to hone what my mission is a lot more and find who is my ideal client and how am I talking to them. And then starting to turn away people who aren't my ideal client. So you feel like it's just becoming more clear. And as that momentum builds, I'm able to see how I can best serve my people, which has meant some changes in my practice, which has been really fun to work through with the support of all of you.
It's okay. So we started off being secretly practicing and secretly hoping.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you said you had 5 patients in 2022. So we're in
Yeah.
2023. You started off by doing more. And
Mm-hmm.
then you decided, I'm going to go in because now I want to be able to pay myself. I want to be able to grow, like all of those things. What does 2023 look like
Yeah. It
compared
has
to
been really
2022?
fun. Yeah. I mean, let's see. I make double in a month now what I made in all of 2022. But I'll tell you that I made like $7,000 in 2022. So in all of 2022. So the growth has been it's been really phenomenal. I think generally I've seen month after month growth. There's been August was really slow, which had surprised me, but then September was the busiest month yet. And so there's these sort of natural ebbs and flows in the business cycle and learning how to understand that, learning that that's a natural part of the process, but also not just accept it, but look back. Is there a reason that there was an ebb and flow there? Is there something outside of my practice that's affecting me? Is there something I'm doing that's affecting it? Being able to bring that curiosity. I do this all day with my patients where I am asking them if they had a situation that went differently than they had planned. Okay, let's not forgive ourselves and just move on. Let's not beat ourselves up. Let's find that intermediate point where we can be curious, where we can do a little analysis and figure out what happened and what can we do differently. So starting to apply that to my business, I am seeing month over month growth. My patient volume is higher, but a big part of it is I've changed my pricing structure. So I was for my all of my established patients as I went into my price structure change, I actually kept the price the same, but I decreased the visit length. So I went from 50-minute visits to 30-minute visits, and nobody even batted an eye at that. So all of my former patients or patients who've been working with me for a while have been grandfathered in at that price. I'll probably eventually raise prices on them as well, but when I give them a little time to adjust to the current changes. And for my new patients, I right now I have a package visit that is structured. That's a stepping stone. I know that eventually I want to be really outcome focused. And so look at for a period of time what outcome I'm helping them to achieve as opposed to 10 visits equals this amount of monies. But being able to move to that package has been it's been great. It's helping patients to see you need to have, it's not going to happen in 1 or 2 visits. You need to commit to this for a period of time. It's going to take some investment from you. As the doctor, I'm going to be invested in your process. And it's funny because when I initially set the price, I wrote it down and I stared at it until I feel comfortable. I forget where you said that, but you had given that advice. I would say it over and over. I would practice saying it in my head, practice saying it to pretend clients. And the first time that I said it, the patient was like, "Oh, yeah, sure." I was like, "Oh." And I was sold a handful more at that new price. And every single person that I've done a meet and greet visit for has been like, yeah, no big deal. And so it's very clear to me that that is a stepping stone, maybe even to another price increase in the same package realm. But seeing there are people who value what I have. I, the very first question, taking a step back, that I asked in the Entremd Business School for life coaching, I think I am low ticket and low volume. And that is not a mathematical recipe for success. I'm not seeing a lot of patients. I'm not charging them a lot of money, and I'm not making a lot of money. And so, if I'm going to be low ticket, which I am, I'm emphasizing this sort of concierge type service with my patient. If I'm going to be low volume, I need to be high ticket. And so realizing that, playing the math game, and then moving in the direction of what will help my business to actually be profitable, I am actually I'm in the black, which is good. Just barely. I'm in the black. And I am, though, seeing that my business is on track to be profitable, to start paying myself, and to start creating a business that will be able to be successful. And I'm so excited about that.
And that's in barely 4 months, right? Like when you
Yeah.
think you've been taking your practice from something that was a secret, something that's maybe doing a little better, to a business asset, something that can fund your financial freedom, gives you the opportunity to serve a lot of people, help them in a bigger way. And this is where you are 4 months in, right? It's just pretty
Hmm.
to see. And I will say this about you, because I remember when you asked that question, it may have been on your first or second call. You raised your
Yeah.
hand. You're like, okay, I think I'm low ticket, low volume. And I know the math is not mathing. I still remember that. And I still remember giving you a number of scenarios. I'm like, okay, so once you decide on what you do, post in the group, let's troubleshoot that. And you may have done it that night or maybe the next morning. And I'm like,
Hmm.
she's serious. This is going to be wild. And you went on, you changed your prices, you did the package structure, which has brought this stability, if you will, you know what I mean, to the practice. And you embrace the discomfort, because we're doctors. We like to help people. We don't really want to talk about the money. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Everybody deserves to be helped. So big shout out to you, because you're someone, you make decisions quick. You're open to coaching. You change you change things quick when they need to be changed. You do uncomfortable things. And so it makes me know that, I mean, when we look back, we're looking 4 months back. When we look 12 months back, 2 years back, it's going to be really wild, really, really wild.
Yeah. I hope so.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're already on track. You're already doing it. You know what I mean? So that's impressive to see. Now there's somebody listening to this. I understand this concept of defining moments, right? The defining moments will be when you're like, I am secretly practicing and I'm secretly hoping this explodes, right? Because there's a need for what I do. That's a moment where you can make a decision that changes your life, right? And
Hmm.
that decision could be, okay, now I'm going to do it like I mean it and all of that. Another defining moment for you, more especially, because the initial one, there was a reason for that, right? But is when you're like, okay, so are we going to go get a job then? Or are we going to, it's a critical moment, right? Like where
Hmm.
it's a decision, and your decision is, no, I'm going to make this work. Then you found out about the Entremd Business School. You're like, I think this can support me on my journey to make this work. And here you are, like on your way. So what would you say to the person who's in that space, right? Something needs
Hmm.
to give, maybe because you can tell me, like, when you're like, okay, I'm trying to business school, but do I have the time? Will it work for me? Will it work for my kind of business? Like all of those kind of things. But you navigated that and still made the decision and came in and
Hmm.
did the work, or you're doing the work. And here we are. What would you say to that person?
Yeah. I think it, to imagine where you're at right now, and if you're happy with always being at that place, then great, stay there and do that. But my guess is if you're having that doubt and having those questions, that you need some sort of support. And I had no business training, and I heard the message that you were sharing, talking about the things that you were doing in the Entremd Business School. I'm like, here's a community of other physicians who have been in these exact same shoes that I'm in now, and they've made it work. And I want to make it work. And I don't have any idea how I'm doing that. I'm a very, like you said, I'm a very decisive person. That's a quality I've always had. And I I had made a lot of decisions up into that point, but it wasn't moving the needle in the direction that I wanted to. And I love practicing medicine. I love being able to do what I'm doing. And I also need to make money. I also need to be able to pay my bills. And we have a full time nanny for three children. And what's the point of having a nanny for three children if I'm making $0 or making negative dollars? And so just looking at where are you and where do you want to go? And do you have a plan? And if you don't have a plan, maybe that plan could be something like the Entremd Business School. It was just very clear to me that I needed that community. I needed people to bounce ideas off of because I had no one. Like I said, I don't know, like a handful of people previous to this who ran their own practices, but I don't know any entrepreneurs. My family all had very traditional graduate from college, go into whatever your profession is. No one in my family is even doctors. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I need this community. I need this support. And then in moving into it, the investment in the Entremd Business School is a chunk of change. And I am very frugal, very, very, very frugal of a person. And so part of, if I'm going to do this program, I'm going to get everything out of this program that I can because I put some money into it. And so I want to make that money back. I want to make that investment work for me. It totally has. I was really hoping to be one of those people who could say, I made my investment back in the first quarter. I didn't, but I have now. Within 4 months, I have. I just had it right at the first quarter because of my slow August. But it was a big investment. And with that investment, I knew I needed to make it worth it. And actually, that framework too has really helped me with how I structure my pricing for my patients. If they can see the investment in me, as I saw the investment as you, of this defining moment, not just of deciding to do it, but once I had done it, here's this defining moment of what am I going to do with this? And I've made this investment. So now I get to make it work for me. And that's a big deal. So I'm so excited to be doing it, but I'm doing it. I spent the money and I'm here. I'm showing up.
I spent the money and I'm showing up. Okay. So if you saw me looking down, it's because I was literally writing this down. These two statements you made are like the best kind of music in my ear. I am going to get everything out of this program that I can, right? Like that attitude right there. We use it with a program. We use it with a book. We use like whatever, showing up and saying, I'm here to take up space. I am committed to my results because you're committed to your results. Like I am going to make this business work. Okay. And I'm going to serve a lot of people, help a lot of people. I'm going to pay myself. I'm going to create financial freedom, time freedom for my family, all of that. You're committed to that, right? Then you invest in this. You're like, okay, this can support me on my journey to getting there. And then you're like, yeah, I'm going to get everything out of this, like every single thing, right? Mm-hmm. That attitude right there is liquid gold. It literally makes you not having experience as an entrepreneur, or you not having entrepreneurs in your family and all of that. It makes it null and void because you've made a decision, right? I'm here. I'm in this environment. I'm looking at people. They're getting it done. I'm coming here and I'm getting it done too. That right there, that's music to my ears. And then you're like, yeah, I didn't do it in 90 days, but I did it in 4 months. I can handle that. I am so happy for you. And the thing is, like making it back is one thing, but the thing is you don't make it back and then you have to return the skills, right? So this then becomes the gift that keeps giving and giving and giving and giving for as long as you're an entrepreneur. So I am beyond pumped for you. So you tell everybody about what you do. So tell people where they can find you, what a good referral will be, because you never know who's listening. And like you said, the listener may not be your ideal client, but they may know someone who's your ideal client. So tell us where to find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a podcast I think you mentioned at the very beginning, and that is one of my favorite ways to share my word with anybody and everybody. It's the Conquer Your Weight podcast. You can find it on everywhere you listen to podcasts. And my website is also conqueryourweight.com. So that is an excellent place to connect with me. I'm seeing patients in person in Charlottesville, Virginia, and then anywhere in Illinois and Virginia by telemedicine, which has been really fun. People actually love coming in by telemedicine. So if you're in one of those states, who's someone who's struggling with their weight in one of those states, I I would love to work with, and I work with patients who are committed to their weight loss process. They've been through a lot of different weight loss journeys in the past. They feel like they've tried it all. They're starting to see some medical impact of their weight. Maybe they're having prediabetes or they have elevated blood pressure or fatty liver. I have a handful of patients who've had cancer and they're like, I know I need to get this weight off and I want to do it the best way possible. I would love to partner with that person. So if you are that person, you know that person, please send them my way.
Okay, obviously you've been doing a lot of talking about yourself because that was so nice. It's so clear. I love it. Like from the website, Conquer Your Weight. How do you miss that, right? So good.
hmm
So guys, you're listening. We always support the doctors who come on here to take us behind the scenes. It is vulnerability that will make somebody being vulnerable enough to talk about the challenges they had, even the wins they have, right? Coming to say, I made back my investment this amount of time, or now I'm making this amount of money, or this is how much I made in my first year. It takes a lot of vulnerability to do that. So the gift we give them back is we support their work. So you're already on a podcast platform. If you're listening to this on the podcast, just go look for Conquer Your Weight, subscribe. If you listen to episodes, you love them, put a review there. And if you know someone who's a good referral for her, send that person her way. So Dr. Sarah, you have given us gem after gem. I have I have notes. Okay.
Oh.
All right. You've given us gem after gem. So any final words for the listener, the physician entrepreneur? Just, I don't know, tell them what's on your heart.
Yeah, I think if you're wondering how to make this work, if you've been on the edge and just thinking about it, I have been so thrilled to be part of the Entremd Business School. And I think that it can be an excellent community for people who are committed to making it work. And so I would love to have some new classmates.
She would love some new classmates, and I would love some new classmates too. So if you are wondering, is this the best next step for me? My team is always happy to get on a call with you to work that out. We do not do any high pressure tactics because we don't, if it's not a good fit for you in the sense that's not what you want to do, we're not going to make it fit. We may even say this is something that'll be a good fit. We just want to help you get to a decision, which is either absolutely or absolutely not, right? As opposed to not being able to make a decision. So schedule a call with them on entremd.com/call. They take really good care of you. You most likely be speaking to Makita, who is like a big boss and has really been behind the scenes for every single company that I run. So entremd.com/call. They'll be happy to take care of you. And Dr. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on here, for sharing your story. And thank you for being an example of what is possible for physicians, because we're in this time where we need as many examples as possible, because no, we're not stuck. Yes, we didn't have a business education, but we can fix that now, right? We can build practices, we can build businesses that we love, and we can get back our autonomy. We can make a huge difference, huge impact, and create financial freedom. We can do all of these things. And you're a perfect example of that. So thank you so much for coming to share your story.
Thank you for having me. It's been so fun.
Absolutely. Okay, people, you know what we do. Go share this episode with another doctor in your life. They will thank you forever. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Entremd podcast. If you enjoy listening to the Entremd podcast, you have to check out the Entremd Business School. It's the #1 business school for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. You get the coaching, the accountability, and the community you need to do the work so you can thrive. To find out if this is your best next step, book a call with my team, entremd.com/call. That's entremd.com/call. I can't wait to celebrate all the wins we can create together.